All right, welcome into How About Wow. Dallas Cowboys Micah Parsons and Trevon Diggs fired back at Jerry Jones over the contracted injury drama that Jerry started Monday. You'll hear exactly what they said. Are the Cowboys playing with fire? Or just playing with our emotions, maybe both. Welcome in, Cowboys fans, where every day on How About Wow, we talk about the Cowboys getting back to the glory days as day one of training camp was pure chaos. We've got it all. By the way, the offense looks completely different. We've got highlights of the biggest plays and might have even been a little skirmish. Welcome into training camp coverage. Take it away, Jimmy.
The only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
All right, welcome in. I'm Gavin Dawson from the G-Bag Nation, 105.3 The Fan, 2 to 7 every weekdays there on your home of the Cowboys. And along with me, as always, is the former all-academic SEC lineman from Kentucky, Newbear, Lesniewski. How the hell are you, buddy?
When I saw 88-3 skipping down the runway, I was like, let's go. I was yelling at the TV.
It's amazing. And everywhere one is, the other one is right there. So they got this buddy cop thing worked out perfectly. There's another buddy cop emerging on the Cowboys offense. We'll get to that when we start to look at some of the plays and the highlights from on the field in Oxnard, California. How About Wow brought to you by Bet Online. Sign up link in the description. Get up to $250 in bonus bets. You can get it anywhere in the world with a phone app as well. Bet Online. Y'all ready to do this? Thanks to Nick Harris, Star Telegram, for the groundwork on this one. And the observation for the first time, Micah is suggesting it could be time to roll out.
You feel like the Cowboys want to get a deal done?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me, it really don't matter. Like I said, I've been pretty consistent. If they don't want me here, they don't want me here. I'll go about my business. I understand the nature of the business. Like I said, as long as I'm here and under contract, I'm gonna do what I have to do to perform at the highest level. But if this is them, this is them. There's same way that Jerry Jones, and Stephen Jones, and the other Jerry Jones take care of their family. The same way I need to take care of my family. I got my own 3 kids of my own, so we all need to take care of our own family at the end of the day.
I love it. I mean, he is just meeting the challenge of negotiating against NFL businessmen better than anybody I've seen that's going at it their first go through. But, I mean, what was your reaction when he said, if they don't want me here, they don't want me here?
I had 2. My first one was like yours. My first one was, I am going to have to go on this show tonight and admit, Gavin, Michael Dawson is 1,000% correct. And this is engagement farming 101. They could teach. Jerry Jones has a second act in teaching journalism classes, public relations back at Arkansas. I really wanted to just let it go and let God. And then I started messing around with the trade machine. And I started thinking to myself, who and how much?
Yeah, because what if this is real? And, what if Micah does want to go? And what if the Cowboys are seriously balking at a superstar player for the first time in their ownership? Like, would you entertain the idea of trading Micah Parsons? Is that what you're doing, Newbear?
I did it as an exercise, and I did it in the spirit of engagement farming and furthering Jerry's cause. Jones fam, what would hurt them the most, but what would also cause the most chaos? What would bring the most clicks? And I think I found it.
What's that?
I think it's Washington. And I think it's a fascinating thing to explore because they have almost no picks next year. They gave up a bunch to get Laramie Tunsil. So all they have next year in the relevant to Micah Parsons would be 1 and 3. And you go, okay, well, that's not enough because the Commanders are going to win. You're talking about a 20s pick for Micah and a 3. No way, right? It's Micah Parsons, age 26. Not a chance.
It's a tough needle to thread, especially in division.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
2027, DC hosts the draft. There's no way they're giving up their 1 in 2027 because they're not going to let someone else walk across the stage with their pick in their town, right? That's not happening.
That can't happen.
But they have 2s and they have 3s. So would you go a 1 in 26 and a 3 and then 2 and 3. A 1, 2 2s, and a 3 for Micah Parsons now.
Hell no, man. I'm not even getting a player inside the top 10. You know how picks are late in the first round. They might as well be second round picks. The good players are gone.
But wait, there's more.
Okay, all right.
What if I told you that behind Jaden Daniels' 189-pound soaking wet ass was Marcus Mariota, that's actually how you say his name, and Josh Johnson?
Okay, so I just need to get farther into the future. I think this Washington thing is going to collapse, and probably by 2028 at the latest. So I need to push this compensation into the future a little bit.
So what if I said to you, the Washington Commanders believe they're all in, and they're looking at their depth chart where a guy we all know very well, Dorrance Armstrong, is starting at one end, and they just went and got Von Miller off the street. And then Frankie Louval, Bobby Wagner, and a bunch of other really nice pieces on a defense with Jaden Daniels, who's arguably the most exciting young quarterback in this league, and Debo, and they're going to pay Terry McLaurin, and they're all in. And they gave you 2026 1, 2028 1, and a combination of 2s and 3s between now and then.
I could be.
Oh, by the way, there's more. You're not paying Micah Parsons $200 million over the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I think it's a very interesting exercise. I think, the compensation package you laid out is unrealistic that NFL teams would trade picks 3 years into the future. I'm up for it, though. Just generally speaking, I think Micah Parsons is, not polished enough to be a true Cowboy superstar. I think he's very blue collar. I don't know if he's that marketable. He's not a great leader, and he doesn't play the run exceptionally well. He's just pretty good at it. So you want the absolute most, even though you're not the best edge player. I could go down this path with you, Newbear, that the idea of trading Micah Parsons has probably been alive in DFW media for over a year now, just sort of anticipating that this was off into the future. I just don't think it's realistic the Cowboys would move on with Dak Prescott at 31 and George Pickens on this team right here, right now. I think your instincts on your first takeaway were absolutely right, that Micah is helping Jerry Jones propel this story into not only top story in the NFL, but super, super hot. Oh, what's this? Micah might want to go. I think we were kind of getting bored with the level of off-season contract drama, and Jerry Jones mashed the gas. And then today he jumped out and Micah Parsons jumped in that hot rod, took himself a lap. And
I just really started thinking about 3 or 4 years of the Commanders and the Cowboys doing battle and the Herschel Walker type move. If we're going to do How About Wow and talk about Jimmy Johnson intro in this thing, and what it would take for them to actually get back to a place. The only catch, the catch 22, the catch Emmitt Smith is, if you trade Micah Parsons, are you saying we're not serious about 2025, even if it's future 1s and 2s? Because I'm just saying, we love Sam Williams' data. We love Dante Fowler's production.
Oh, I do.
Marshawn Nealon had a pick 6 today.
Yeah.
Easy's gonna have to step up. Could you do it? And could you do both? Could you do what the Pittsburgh Steelers are trying to do, which is win now and build for the future?
Yeah, I think neither of these teams are winning now. Steelers and Cowboys are fooling themselves, but they're also trying to fool their fan bases that they could really win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, that's the peak engagement farming. So you move off of Micah, you're telling your fan base we're not trying to win right now. And Jerry Jones will just never do that. So, yeah, I think it's somewhat doable if Micah would demand out and you could get compensation that could help you win now, like kick me back Frankie Louvu and a future 1. I think these are the kind of conversations that might make those things realistic. Micah's clearly a big fan of Dan Quinn, so can't rule it out. Cut number 2 here on How About Wow. Okay, here's more of Micah Parsons talking about
well, not just Micah, don't forget his buddy.
Well, Trevon's in there as well. Whenever Trevon talks, though, I just hear crying. Like if I was Micah, I'd say, Trevon, go do your own thing, buddy. You're messing up my media.
It's funny too, because we got all this good juju and we got all this buddy cop stuff, right? We got the Tylers, we got the receivers, and it's all in the Schottenheimer vein. And then we have on the opposite side, it's like the evil Avengers, right? It's like Jerry goes from folksy to to pissed off to the red ass. And this is Micah and Trevon coming in and showing the other side of the face.
So here's Micah looking out into the NFL and some of his peers, that have been compensated already out of the same draft class. Here he is.
Some teams with guys like Max, he was like, man, they knew I was coming up and they just want to take care of him. And I just say, must be nice. You know what I mean?
Is it hard to be patient to try to get a deal?
Oh, no, patience is a virtue. I think it's key to patience. I think life is all about patience. Knowing when it's your turn, when it's your opportunity, then you maximize it.
You always help him when he's doing the rehab. Are you helping him with the contract? Because you got yours a little early.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's Trevon saying I'm helping Micah Parsons out there at the end. But if you didn't catch it at the beginning, Micah's basically saying about the Raiders rewarding Max Crosby must be nice to be in that kind of situation. Clearly throwing shots at ownership of the Cowboys, not making players feel appreciated. I think the premise, and if you're still watching, like the video, if you want to comment on it down below, are they playing with fire in any way? Do you realistically think this could blow up in their face and cause them to lose Micah Parsons or not be able to put their best foot forward in 2025? Or, I think probably tonight he and Jerry are hanging out in Oxnard, or, Jerry's probably down in Beverly Hills or Ojai or somewhere super fancy, but Micah's in his Staybridge Suites Inn banging out text. They're probably having a good laugh about this already. Like, wow, that was a good one. We're really going to get a tremendous burn out of the news cycle tomorrow morning. Get up. You kidding me? This thing's going to be on fire.
Yeah, and what's the craziest thing about it is you always ask me, like, what do you think? What would Belichick do? What would Chuck Noll do? Like, what would the old heads do? And we go back to the Chandler Jones, right? Belichick always moves on a year early rather than a year late. And Chandler Jones was coming up on the last year, his rookie deal. And you go back and you look at it, coming off a 12.5 sack Pro Bowl season. What did they get for Chandler Jones? They got a former top 10 guard who was injured and okay, but really just serviceable. And they got a 2, which they then moved into a 3 and a 4, which became Joe Thuney. So Chandler Jones became a rotational guard and a 3rd-round pick, Joe Thuney, who's now one of the highest paid linemen of this generation, which means of all time, and is super duper key part of a Super Bowl winning team. That's all they got for Chandler Jones. Micah Parsons, the thing that you could do the exercise on and go through opposite Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit or any of these other teams that are in win now mode. How much would they sacrifice of their future to get that ring? We're going to play this. A million people are going to play all kinds of other different games. Micah's talking out of both sides of his mouth in front of the camera. And at the end of the day, they're just going to sign a deal.
Yeah, they are, exactly. And that's why I didn't want to spend too much time on it. If this thing does head in a direction other than them signing a contract at some point in the next 3 weeks, I will be shocked. I think there is a 99.9% chance this deal is going to get done. I think it's great entertainment. It's good theater, and Jerry Jones proving once again he's the master. Like, Mike is frustrated. He doesn't understand why Jerry won't pick up the phone. But I think it's obvious at this point, Jerry doesn't want to get the deal done because of how amazing and how hot this new stuff is right now. If it wasn't for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, I don't think the NFL would have the level of popularity that it does. Like, he single-handedly pimps.
Oh, give me the Pepsi logo and do the whole thing. I mean, he's the master. He's the master of puppets. It's unbelievable the strings this guy's pulled, and to do it all without winning for so long, which is the only reason and the real reason that you do the exercise. And it's worth the time. It's worth talking about it for a few minutes, because I really think when you look at their salary cap situation, that if there was a team that was desperate enough and win, and not, you're talking about multiple ones and $200 million that you can go spend on a bunch of other dudes, this is a much better team in 2 or 3 years. I don't think there's much of an argument than if you sign him for what you're going to sign him and hope.
Yeah. Okay, you ready for some play takeaways? You ready to look at some plays?
Dude, I can't tell you how many times I've clicked on some of these things and the rapid fire back and forth. What is this? Are you starting with your favorite one? Is this your favorite play of the day?
It was George Pickens' big catch in the bland peanut.
Yeah.
Is that what we look? Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here you go. Here comes Juan Brand. Oh. Love Ron Bland, dude. You talk about a guy with absolute all-pro ball skills, Cowboys corner. Unfortunately, the only good one that we are for sure is going to be available on week 1. But I liked a lot of things about this play. I mean, let me. You catch the motion from Lamb coming across the formation, so you put Pickens and Lamb on on the same side. Here comes Lamb. It's just, I don't know how much you can hear me when the audio is playing, so let me turn that down. But that's the kind of magic that I'm depending on Schottenheimer, Clayton Adams, and the other Cowboys coaches to produce, as far as quick hitting plays that are easy for Dak to see and get the ball in playmakers' hands.
On time, on target. The rhythm they're going to establish over the course of the next couple of weeks is the most important. We know that Dak can throw and loves to throw the go ball. We know George Pickens is as good, if not better, than anyone at doing that along the sidelines. What you just saw is so interesting for so many different reasons. They motion to the same side because everyone's just been assuming that you're going to have Pickens at X and CD in the slot, and they're going to be playing off of each other. What happens when they're literally next to each other is so exciting. Then you got Donovan Wilson getting on his high horse and making Pickens work a little bit, and Pickens showing off the long speed, which is what we loved so much in Pittsburgh, was when you actually threw in-breaking stuff and involved him in the short window passing game, he could take 7 and turn it into 77. And then at the end, the hustle. Day one, we are not playing around. Protect your lunch money. That was awesome all the way around.
Yeah, incredible. And we have several more plays to get to, but before we get there, I did want to tell you George Pickens also had the quote of the day. And speaking of Pittsburgh, I think there might be some hurt feelings up there in the Steel City. I'm definitely excited to run better plays was the line. How limited was what Pittsburgh and Arthur Smith asked him to do there with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields last year, Newbear?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a completely different world for this kid in Dallas in this offense. And the biggest part of it is having a elite professional quarterback. I mean, Dak Prescott, All-Pro, Dak Prescott, runner-up MVP, Dak Prescott, Pro Bowl. He will soon be the all-time leading Cowboy in everything. And when you have that and you have that consistency, you have an expectation. The biggest difference in George Pickens this year is that he should not take a single route off, because he would zone out. There's film. There's plenty of film of him jogging, half-assing, galloping, and it cost the Steelers in games. And it probably should have got him benched even more than the fines that he did get for the actions he took against other players and different things that he put on his face.
Yeah,
but
I would have fined him and benched him. You know, I just don't think there's any room for it. Maybe I'm starting to show my age, but I don't care how talented you are. I just think it's way too important to have a great culture and to set the example for younger players, because that could contaminate so much. So I would say on the other end, the Steelers fans, media, the organization is probably thinking they're definitely excited to have players that run every play, you know, that aren't taking things off. I hope this is better for both parties, you know, and obviously from the Cowboys' perspective, you have to hope that this trade shocks him into a higher level of discipline and accountability. There's got to be some embarrassment in there somewhere along with that pride.
If it doesn't click this year for this dude, it's never going to happen. I mean, it's a prove it or lose it. Everything is on the line for George Pickens. He has all the talent to literally go out and put up a young Randy Moss season. His average catch, his ability, yards per catch is what I'm saying by there. His ability to put his foot in the turf and house call beyond his ability to just go up and dunk on dudes is arguably as good as anybody in the league. There are not many people who roll out of bed in the morning with what this dude has. The problem is he has not been tasked, and then he has not been taken to task when he refuses to stay on task for 3 years. And when you have the leadership of 88, when you have the leadership of 4, where you know you better come correct when you get in that huddle. And if you don't, it's not about Turpin or Mingo or anyone else behind him on the depth chart. It's about accountability from your brothers. It's about Dak and CD being unlike anything he's had since he was at Georgia, where Kirby Smart would own your ass.
And it's about helping them make sense of it, how you should act, how you should respond to coaching. I think that's a huge part of culture because you're dealing with such young people, who really don't have that much of a work experience yet being in a professional environment. And I just think it's so massively different. In Pittsburgh, maybe he didn't have somebody he looked up to, or maybe he didn't have somebody that he felt like he could trust. I know here with CeeDee Lamb and Dak, though, you're talking about, the absolute peak when it comes to work ethic, willingness to sacrifice for your team, and especially with Dak, an understanding of, human resources type of situations, like how to present yourself in a work environment to gain the trust of adults, who have seen idiot kids coming through the system. I think, that's what the off-field stuff I think is about when you have a leader of Dak Prescott's level, because this is a guy with a master's in business management, bro. I mean, he can really break things down. And how would you not trust a guy that's been through everything that Dak's been through and gotten to the top?
Well, and he also does so much work with mental health. And,
Yeah.
and so this is a guy who, when you talk about PR and saying and doing the right thing, and then you talk about managing people, it's not just about here's how you run this route, here's how I want you to leverage the corner or press the safety to create more separation. It's about the mental side of getting yourself right so that when you do have adversity, when you do have to run up that hill after something bad happens, not only do you do it, but you want to. And I think that's been a big challenge for Pickens, because unlike what he's gotten with CeeDee Lamb, where he's celebrating, CeeDee Lamb is better than George Pickens by any metric, any measurable, by contract, by status, by awards, by numbers. And George Pickens is actually athletically superior to him. And CeeDee Lamb knows what George Pickens can do for CeeDee Lamb. So CeeDee Lamb's the first guy to say, you eat too. You can eat as much as I do.
There's no resentment in there. I mean, that's an unbelievable lesson for any young player to get exposed to, because
here in Pittsburgh, it was the opposite. They were crying. Yeah. Him and Deontay Johnson were taking turns walking off the field and pouting if their number wasn't called when it was go time. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I mean, Michael Irvin was the same way, trying to convince the Cowboys to not draft another wide receiver because he didn't want the competition. He didn't want to be threatened from, battling for his paycheck. And that's ultimately what it is, targets or dollars. So there's a lot of reason for players to feel territorial or defensive about it. But if you go through an entire career like that, it's not going to help you make any more money. The opposite is actually true. You're going to be that guy who's only worried about himself, yelling at the quarterback. You're going to get traded. Your career is going to end sooner than it should. Go ask Terrell Owens, maybe the most talented wide receiver to ever play the sport. I mean, you can just go on. And then from the mental health perspective, which I thought was a really sharp observation from you, Newbear, Dak can explain. Listen, if you want to get all jammed up and worked up about this, that, or the other thing, you couldn't spend your entire NFL career mad at somebody. Is that what you dreamed of when you were a kid? Getting here. So why are you having these reactions? Well, it's probably because of pattern of behavior and childhood trauma. This is how you react to adversity. And if you spend enough time here, you might find yourself depressed, and then he could tell you these just incredible life lessons because of the experiences that he's been through and the pain that he suffered. He doesn't want to see any of his brothers suffer like that anymore.
The other side of this is that back when Michael Irvin was playing, Troy Aikman was throwing the ball 475 times a year. Dak's throwing it 600 times. There's plenty of food to go around. It's a completely different game. And in addition to that, Dak is a guy who will feed whoever's open. And Dak is a guy who will also force a ball to a guy who needs to get going. And that was just not how the operation was run here in Pittsburgh. For 3 years, it was basically like, let's just walk on eggshells and tiptoe around, let the league take some money out of his pocket and just kind of hope that he gets things right. I mean, that was really the perception around things. And if you fed him early and you fed him often and he was engaged and he was celebrating and he was ready to do the gritty or whatever was planned that week when he got into the end zone. when that didn't happen, the longer it went on, the worse it got inside of individual games, to the point where in games, it wasn't just him grabbing Jordan Lewis's face mask after the game's over. He was fighting dudes while the ball was in the air during the Hail Mary at the end of the Browns game. I mean, it takes him so far out of his game that, I mean, I appreciate you, giving me a shout out about calling out the mental health side of it. But George Pickens is a guy who was a meme before he ever stepped on the field, because he had the suit ready for day one. He fell to day two, and he looked like he was about to go rob a bank. And it was crazy, the reaction that turned into when he started acting up. You start putting the Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs together, and you go, oh yeah, 1 + 1 is 2. This dude's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And he's got this rap that is following him today, and he's earned a lot of that. What's so great about this opportunity is that in this one season, he can change everything.
He can. And he talked about it today at a media session, and maybe I should have had the audio ready. We'll do that another day. But, he said a lot of the misperception about me is that I carry this attitude off the field. He's like, I'm different as a football player than I am as a guy. So I think that's one thing, not to conflate those two. But the momentum of that, and not to make it a mental health show or anything, but that I think that's where Dak Prescott is uniquely positioned. Dak's a guy that we've talked to over the years about yoga, meditation, mindfulness. Like, how do you rewire your brain to stop it when it starts doing things that are massively bad for your present and your future, right? How can you hit the eject button, right? And if you've spent your entire life doing it, you might not even realize. You're probably just blaming it on your surroundings, that everybody was messing with me so bad I had to lose it, instead of owning it, right? There's all sorts of things that I think a better environment, a better set of role models can do for George Pickens, but he's got to want this. He's got to be kind of ashamed. And based on the quote, I don't know if he's ready to do that.
Do you think they gamify it and it becomes a, hey, what book's AJ Brown reading this year when he gets pissed off when Jalen Hurts is beating Devonta and Saquon on a heater? We
live in a great time where all these books and podcasts are available. Like when Michael Irvin was in the game, this was all still pretty much underground. Maybe you'd see like one episode of an Oprah Winfrey show about it, right? But like rewiring your brain is a fairly modern thing. And I love that AJ Brown's story went that way last year.
True story. My mom was on Oprah as a kid because of some stuff that we were dealing with in this realm. And it's a fascinating thing to think about how much the world has changed, because ironically, that was the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. So as we go through this process of unpacking this team's mental health and how that influences everything their body does, here we got a guy who has all the talent in the world. There's nobody who can guard him. When he says always bleeping open, he ain't lying. It's not a put on. If that ball's in bounds, he's coming down. And I mean, I think I sent you a clip the other day from the Jets game. And out of all the great things he did that night, not just against a smaller corner who was a 4-3-5 guy, Nichols in his own right, he had a catch against Sauce Gardner that was this close to being a Tony toe tap thing in the end zone, where even his misses, even his incompletes, he still catches the ball. It's just a matter of, is the ball in bounds? And Dak's one of those dudes who leaves plenty of room for the wide receiver to go get it.
Well, this is what I love talking about football with you, man, because we can like have 8 cuts ready and say, let's spend a couple minutes talking about it. And the next thing you know, it's 15 minutes later, and the conversation's been outstanding.
You want to do some rapid fire? I can keep the digression.
You can. No, I don't think that's possible, but I can take you to Dak Prescott's first interception of training camp. Marshawn Nealon got him. I need to mute this before YouTube gives us a strike for the music. So there goes Marshawn Nealon back to the house. I think the screen game is Dak's kryptonite as a quarterback, and I don't know what the solution is, Newbear. How do you keep ends honest? How do you break their back if you can't complete some damn screens?
Why is he so freaking late? Why is it like where the line? What the hell is going on? This whole thing looks like it's off because it almost looks more like a check down than a screen. I mean, something is off with the timing, and this is what training camp is for, right? Because when you're looking at this, I'm assuming that you're going deep over the top and then you're trying to take everyone in and sneak him out underneath, but the linemen aren't running downfield yet. So like, I wonder what's really going on here. Someone is doing something wrong here. And I think Dak is going, all right, it's training camp. I'll flip one out here and see what happens. At the same time, let's be excited about the guys who aren't supposed to be able to catch, taking one the other way and doing the damn thing. Because my favorite part of that video, because I just think something is broken with that play, is how excited the defense gets. And it look, there was about 20 guys running down the sidelines with him.
Well, I love the idea that they're trying them, and I love that idea that maybe it's just a miscoordination or somebody missing their responsibility there on that screen. Now, let's go to something. I don't know if you can see who's in the backfield right now, but as I hit play, and I of course want to bring that volume down again. Here we go. Here's a run play that got Cowboys Twitter excited early afternoon.
Is it the burn orange borner? Is this blue? Is this blue's big one?
Nope. It's a smaller guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That would be one Cavante Turpin, number 9 there. And I love the idea of putting this guy in the backfield because they need options. They need somebody with juice. And I would be terrified if he had to go between the tackles that he would come out broken in 2 pieces. But can they make this work, you think?
So I can't see from the widescreen. I was thinking about this earlier, what the actual personnel grouping is, because are they in 11 and he's truly the running back, or did they motion him back out of 10 or something else? You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting if they're dotting the I with Turpin. That's fascinating for 2 reasons. One, what you just talked about with the juice. I won't even steal any of your thunder. But what's really cool about this is when you put it on tape, the other team's got to practice it. They've at least got to prepare for the possibility that it exists.
I like this. This is the tight end coming inside. Is this kind of an outside zone look? I mean, there's the tight end all the way on the other side of the formation, looking to catch the opposite end who wasn't there. I mean, there's no pad, so it's hard to tell like how much success would this play really have, but it looked blocked up really well.
Dude, this is I don't understand why you practice football without pads. The new league rules and respect to the multi-billion-dollar lawsuit that still wasn't enough money for the CTE scandal. Having said that, why are we practicing without pads? Like, why is that even a thing? You literally can get nothing done because it's not a realistic look. And I honestly felt like that was when something slips because you're not doing the thing right. You tweak something, that's when you hyperextend an elbow. Or I hated practicing even in shells. Like, if I'm out there, I want to be out there.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess it's just about getting lined up and the mental reps of it. I mean, it's kind of like chalkboard or film work, really. I guess we're just actually standing out there. So it's a different way of memorizing plays and getting lined up and then, getting a little bit of coaching feedback. Let's go to I know one of the players you're most excited to watch when we get out there next week to Oxnard. This is Joe Milton. Salute to Vach Lombardi there doing the groundwork. He's got boots on the ground covering camp once again. And what you're looking at here is some Joe Milton fun. Again, motion at Vach Road on 90% of the plays. Little play action and a big one.
Yeah. You know why I'm so excited to watch him? I mean, it's like watching Aaron Judge take batting practice. I mean, he's just such a special specimen. And when you watch him do things that 1% of the 1% who actually make it to Sunday can do on Sunday, and there just aren't many like him. And it's a similar conversation to the George Pickens thing, obviously.
Oops, sorry. Let me put you back on stage there. I'm sorry. What did I do? Here we go. Yeah.
You just hit me with like we were at the Apollo, man.
There you go. See you later. Sorry, you were saying?
What did I say? It's like watching like watching Aaron Judge take batting practice, right? Where there's just a different sound coming off the bat, right? It looks different when a guy who's built like him does the damn thing.
No, you're right. And talking about that, like just watching him run here, I think this is a kind of a broken play. He rolls out, doesn't like anything. Oh no, this is the throw. This is another angle of that.
Angle
there, but that was to the outside to Brooks, and I don't think he would have got his foot down. I think
the ump saying no.
Yeah, I think he let him outside on that one. But there was a run in here, a Joe Milton run that I just think, puts a spotlight on his athletic ability. Let me see what I got here coming up from Nick Harris from the Star Telegram as we review some of the best plays from Cowboys training camp day one here on How About Wow. Joe Milton, more play action. Oh, that's Mingo. Mingo on the outside, just a mountain of a man. Look at him. Look at Mingo right here. You were saying he's built like Shannon Sharp. And,
he's the same exact size. He's the same exact size as Shannon Sharp, and he's way faster. So maybe you're right. Maybe you just put this dude in the protein shake line and let him be one of those freaky hybrid tight ends. I mean, why not?
I mean, you saw the tight end coming over on that previous play on that run from Kevontae Turpin, and Mingo is bigger than him. I think he showed some pretty nice hands there as well. Okay. And here is, I believe, going to be the Joe Milton run. Am I sharing the screen? Yes, that's right. Here we go. Okay. So just look at the way that he freaking moves. Look at him sink his hips and change direction. And I'll play this for you a couple of times, but if and when Dak does go out with an injury, I want to see Joe Milton's best Josh Allen impression. I think there's enough athleticism and enough cannon in here that I don't need him to be a sophisticated reader, a processor, a pocket guy. I'm just going to run plays and try to go deep to Pickens, throw it to Lamb, or run. And damn it, this is one hell of a size guy. I mean, Joe Milton's a tank as well.
I'm gonna say this one more time, and I'll say it louder for the people in back. Joe Milton ran the ball, including sacks. Remember, in college, sacks are a rushing quarterback stat. Joe Milton ran the ball 78 times, including sacks in 12 games. It's 6 times a game. He is not a running quarterback. He is not Josh Allen. I hear what you're saying, but the thing, if Joe Milton is going to be a special quarterback on Sunday, it is going to be because he runs to extend the play to make that back-breaking throw.
Buddy, this guy can go. If Dak Prescott and Jared Goff can pick up first downs with his legs, you are doing your offense a major disservice if you don't put him in intentional running situations.
I'm talking about early Josh Allen versus last year Josh Allen, where he's not running around like a freaking Xbox controller, where someone's just mashing buttons saying, "Hey, you big dumb idiot, go do something cool."
Well, I think you might have to get Joe Milton to do that, though. I mean, because when you look at his accuracy and his processing, I think if you ask him to play real quarterback, like at Tennessee, he's trying to develop in his very rare opportunity in college. He doesn't look at himself as a running quarterback, and that's his biggest problem. He doesn't think he's a backup or a running quarterback.
Joe Milton went to Tennessee knowing he was going to have to sit after he transferred from Michigan, after they recruited over him. Joe Milton doesn't have any patience left for anyone.
Okay, well, let me settle this by going to a Javonte Williams clip, because I know you got a man crush on him and you think he's going to win this running back battle. How about this, Javonte Williams? Nice little spin, fighting through some traffic, pop through the hole. Pretty decent. How's he looking to you? He doesn't have young legs anymore, does he? I don't see much juice and much electricity in those legs, but you're not going to need a ton of it to win this running back battle.
Well, that's not his thing. That never was his thing. That was never going to be his thing. His thing is vision, contact balance, running through dudes. And then, oh, by the way, he's a 3-down back because he can pick up the blitz and he can catch anything. Different from Jaden Blue, though, right? Jaden Blue is going to run the rail. Jaden Blue run routes like a wide receiver. Jaden Blue was actually more of a wide receiver for most of his life, or that's the stuff that he works on, because the running back stuff just comes so natural to him. And then he's out there, oh, by the way, look at me torching Ohio State and other big name teams in those limited opportunities at UT. The thing that's really interesting, and my man crush is on Javonte Williams, is because I love the fact that there's a story here where Sean Payton either not quit on this dude, but basically said he doesn't have anything left. And he's basically dead and buried. And he emerges from that to be a 300 carry, 1,200 yard guy who also catches, 50 balls and wins everyone's fantasy league that actually had the stones to draft him. And then, the other side of the story is just that he's done. And that sucks because the turf monster got him. It sucks because he had such a really good and productive rookie year, and he looked like he was on his way. So there's this redemption thing. And if we're going to talk about mental health at all, let's talk about how for 2 years, This dude didn't like walking around, let alone putting on a helmet and shoulder pads and going and trying to cut through inside, outside, power, zone, duo, what. Nothing felt right. And now for the first time, he says he does.
Right on. Have to be mindful of that when we get out to Oxnard, California. How about buddy cop movie? You referenced it earlier with Booker and Smith. Here's the all-pro left guard teaching some things to the rookie right guard. I think this is footwork type stuff, and then explaining to him how to close when you're pulling.
Right? Yeah, run fit,
dude. Because I think one of the issues with Booker has been hitting that moving target. It's getting out into space, running, and still finding the guys. So, I mean, there's nobody better to learn from right now than Tyler Smith. That reminds me of Tyron Smith tutoring guys back in the day.
I wonder too if he's also just trying to get ahead of, some of the stuff that we had go out, the past few days, shorts and longs, where you're talking about the 1-9-6 split and Jalen Milroe making him look even slower than he actually is, because Jalen Milroe's Michael Vick fast. And, you get into these situations where they're probably not going to ask him to do a whole lot of long pulling, but you still got to be able to go get to that second level, whether that's coming off a double team or just being a guy based on the way the defense stunts or things change after the snap where you find yourself in space. And I love the fact that from the outset, this is literally day one, we're out here talking about really acute, really specific, and really important things. Because if they play to his strengths and that's all they do, and they don't do the thing that Clayton Adams did in Arizona, which is hit you with 23% of this, 23, they're not going to be able to do 23% of Booker being the puller. But if they can't even do 2, 5, 8, 10, 12% of the alternate things, you're taking away potentially as much as half of this playbook.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that. It's clear they're going to play a gap blocking technique from what we saw today. It's clear they're going to run the ball. Like the majority of the plays today by far were running plays, and it's clear they're going to try to get to play action. A lot of moving parts here, though, that I think give these three guys in the middle a better chance at sort of dominating the opposition physically or imposing their will on the opposition. I don't think we've seen that since maybe the very end of Travis Frederick's prime, right before he got Guillain-Barré. Like, it's been a while. That great line in 14 and 16, it expired. They're all gone now. But dang it, I think for the first time since maybe Travis Frederick's illness, I can see this offensive line heading back up. Might take one more draft, to get the right left tackle in here. We'll see what happens with Guyton.
Size, length, athleticism, all those things are great. What really makes great offensive lines is cohesiveness, right? When you've got five playing as one, when they're playing on a string, when the center's making the calls, not the quarterback, and every one of those five guys knows exactly what they're doing as soon as he moves that ball. Like, this is going to be really exciting to watch, because we go from talking about the pedigree and the first round picks and all the different elements of what this line is and what it could be. Yeah. And ultimately we start getting some of those answers where depth either rises, right? Dudes meet the challenge, or they're going to find themselves being replaced by somebody who wants it a little bit more.
All right. On How About Wow, we did have our first scuffle. We did not get much video coverage of it, but it's Brevin Spanford and Donovan Ezeraku, the rookie, against the big tight end, and they're pushing and shoving, and the coaches tried to break him up. And here comes, other players saying, "Hey, let's restore the good vibes." But hopefully, we get, at least some good fisticuffs. I don't know if it'll ever be like Des Bryant and Tyler Patman back in the day, but
I mean, Spanford's like 6'7", right?
Yeah,
he's a monster, and Ezeraku, I think he's out here trying to just make sure everybody knows I might be a rookie, but I'm not taking shit from anybody, right? And especially if Micah's not out there, like who's going to be that guy up front? Fowler's the old head, the vet, who's had a lot of production and was a high pick in his own right, and is a really, 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 really good player. But it's nice. It's nice to see the young buck coming out, just setting the tone from day one. I don't know if you saw up in Detroit, Dan Campbell had to stop practice because things were getting so feisty. You don't want to see it get that far where you're taking it out on your own guys. But you know, I don't love when you go through training camp and there isn't a fight.
Yeah, we need some competitiveness. We need to know that guys are getting so stuck in. It's like, screw you, I'm going to win this rep. I don't care if you're my teammate. Like, that's football, is getting yourself in that mindset. And if you're not doing that, so I did like the scuffle today, especially because this is just T-shirts and helmets. But Brian Schottenheimer said at today's press conference, this is going to be a physical ass camp. Right. And I think this is a good sign that this kind of stuff is happening even before the pads get on. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow with day 2 coverage, all the highlights, all the major storylines out of Oxnard, California. Like we've said multiple times this show, we are going to be in Oxnard next week, and we look forward to that. How About Wow brought to you by our friends at Bet Online. Sign-up link is in the description right now, $250 bonus bets. Okay, if you use our How About Wow sign-up link. I do want to take the time to tell you, How About Wow also brought to you by our friends at Harbor Lights. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram, or scan the QR code right there. It'll take you to a Google sheet, and you can sign up for a free quote on whatever, permanent or holiday lighting solution that you have in mind there. Again, that is Harbor Lights, and you can go to harborenterprisesllc.com. Obviously, Elements Massage as well in Frisco in the 2 locations. You did hear Trevon Diggs today, by the way, talking about how when he's in Frisco, he can't always get the access to the therapist and the massage therapist. That's why one of the reasons he was in Florida. I told you on the show just the other day, players in Frisco are going to Elements Massage because the team doesn't have therapists there waiting for them. So whether it's sports recovery or, rest and relaxation or whatever kind of aches and pains that you have, Elements Massage is going to be your total wellness massage solution.
You always ask me on the way in, how the hell you doing? And whenever you play the Harbor Lights thing, and I threw a hashtag Christmas in July quote tweet back at them today with some funny stuff that was going on with the coverage of the team from Cowboys camp. Christmas in July is one thing to talk about. Is the Halloween stuff up in Texas already? Because my wife wants, now that we're doing these promos, she wants me to call these guys and see if they'll do Halloween lights on our house. And I'm like, it's July. Why are we talking about Halloween? But
Halloween in July. There's no Halloween decorations up. A couple of my neighbors go super hard, and I think they're probably looking at about October 1, if memory serves, before I would start to see that.
This is going to be one of my favorite things to unpack over the course of the season as we get into. There's nothing like football season. There's nothing better than football. There's nothing like the calendar, the changing of the air smells different. We're still in that part of the year. This is my least favorite part of the year. When you think about going outside and start sweating, and it's just like you talk about getting in your pool at 6 a.m. It's the same thing here. I mean, Western Pennsylvania is not any better at this time of year. And when you're popping pads and it's 1,000 million degrees and you got swamp ass and all the things that are part of this part of the year, they were just a few weeks away from you walk outside one day and you go, it's football.
It is. Cannot wait. Go to howboutwow.com for everything we do. Our socials, our written words. Will be in Oxnard next week. For Newbear, I'm Dawson. And how about